Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So, we are going to, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing. We are going to cover this video that I was tagged in on TikTok, on the good old TikTok. I have no idea what she's going to say in this, but somebody wanted my thoughts, and the title of it interests me. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of scared. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I'm about to go on a wild ride, but we're gonna do this. Okay? So let's go.
So I've been dating casually, trying to find a serious partner. Has not worked out super well for me. That's my own shit. That's not what this video is about. But I've been dating a lot for the last decade. I've been sort of on and off casually dating. And I've recently lost a significant amount of weight. I've lost about 50 pounds. At my heaviest a few years ago, I was more like 75 pounds heavier than I am right now. And I've dated at sort of the range of weights between there. And I find it very interesting to hear people's perspectives about how weight fluctuation has changed their dating lives. And I have sort of a theory about what's going on with my experience of that I don't think I've seen other people express. So I wanted to send it up the flagpole and see who's...
I've had a very weird experience. I had, for me, during my tortured era, which for you guys who don't know what that means, it's essentially, it was when I was morbidly obese. I came from super morbid, so I was like 383 at my highest at 6'1". When I had lost around 100 pounds, I was morbidly obese. And I went through a moment where it's like my type changed in a way that was very dramatic, and for me it was really weird, because I think when I was bigger I was so overly irritable and sick and all these things that it's like the type of guy that I wanted was, I don't know if I want to say more gentle or something. And my type changed where I like a guy that's more rambunctious now, essentially. And I think that's probably what I'm more so genetically compatible with, because I'm edgy as a person. And so that was crazy. And people don't think about that, but it's really holistic the way, especially when you get to these huge sizes, it's really, really holistic of how it can affect you. So just, yeah, that was definitely a part of my tortured aspect, was my type significantly changing, where I liked a guy that was a bit tougher, or a bit more rough and tumble, or a bit more, I don't know, rebellious. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. Rather than somebody who was very prim and proper, or cold or whatever. It's weird. It's so weird. I went from liking a cold guy to a hot guy. I'll put it to you that way. It was the weirdest experience. So I wonder if she's going to touch on any of that, or if it's going to be more about how they see you, more outside looking in. But I always think of it, because of my experience of it and having that shift of going from wanting somebody cold to somebody hot. It's I wonder, that's where my mind always goes, because it was it was disturbing to me. It actually disturbed me. I wasn't expecting it. But now I'm fine with it, and it's whatever. And, I think that that's more so what I was into when I was younger and stuff. It's me, but it freaks me out to think about. So I try not to think about it anymore.
Who salutes, so to speak. So I'm not like thin now for sure. I'm like a 5'4". I'm like a 10'12". Um, you know, I'm by New York City standards where I live, I am definitely chubby. But I have been much bigger. I've been up to like a size 20. I
Okay.
spent most of my life at about a size 16. So I know none of this means anything to men, but women know what I'm talking about.
I know some of it. I know some things. I do. I feel like I have to know, and I do know a bit. You guys can let me know if I'm right or wrong, but I would consider, I think a size 8 is probably getting towards thin in America. It's like the higher end of it, obviously, more of an average. So 8, 10 is probably in that averagey era. 12 to 14 is more mid-size. 16, you're getting into small fat, and then beyond. And then we get into, different worlds after that. But I think a 20 is pretty, I would say that's pretty big, in my opinion. Or like it's definitely fat. I'll put it to you that way. But you can let me know if I'm right or wrong. I'm sure I'm close if I'm not totally there.
And kind of get an idea of what my deal is. So my perspective on it, dating when I was heavier, was this cuts down on my numbers. Like, because I am further away from conventional attractiveness, fewer people are going to be interested in me. But I did not feel that it changed the quality of the people who liked me. I think the percentage of people who I felt mutually attracted to is about the same. I don't think I was attracting like better or more attractive people now than I was then or anything like that. But there were just fewer people. Like, that percentage yielded a smaller number of people. Whereas now that I am sort of closer to conventional attractiveness, there are a larger number of people interested in me. But the percentage of people that I'm interested in out of that pool has remained roughly the same. So in raw terms, in raw numbers, I do have more.
Her type didn't shift at all, which is fine. I'm not like saying I was very ill. So I think it again, this journey has taken me down roads that I never thought I would go. But I was like, whatever. When I decided to do this in 2021, I was like, I'm going to go for it and we'll see what happens and we'll just find out. And that's basically been my attitude the whole time. Almost 5 years down the line now. It'll be 5 years in March. And a lot of stuff has happened. It certainly has been an Alice in Wonderland experience. But what I will say is I could see what she's saying. I could see if what she's attracted to didn't shift at all, then the percentage of the yield, I think that makes sense. I think it's all making sense to me.
More options now. And I don't think that was ever really the issue because I live in New York City and I use apps. So like number of people was never the problem. Frankly, there are too many options sometimes. And I never really felt like I had trouble attracting people either. I think because I live in a place with so many people. But like usually I'm the person, if it's not a mutual decision not to go out again, I feel like usually I'm the person declining a second date. Not always, but like, yeah, I don't feel like, I like really like these guys and they're not interested in me. Mm-hmm. Like that wasn't really it. But I have noticed that like the quality of the dates I'm going on has changed, or sort of like the tone of the dates. Like when I was heavier, I felt like the people I was going out with were more interested in me, if that makes sense. I feel like now I go on a lot of dates where the guy doesn't really he seems like a little apathetic or like sort of nonchalant in a way that I find very unappealing because they're like they don't seem curious about me as a person.
The midsize curse? Is it giving midsize curse? I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know if 10 is midsize though. Like I feel like, at least in my mind, that's a little bit more averagey. It's definitely on the lower end of mid, if it is mid. Like to me, it's kind of ambiguous. But that's interesting That's super interesting. What I noticed when I became mid-sized is that I felt like what was expected of me within a romantic context like shot through the roof. It's like all of a sudden, I don't even know, but it's like what I needed was not at all considered versus like when I was super morbid, my needs were always considered all the time. And I think it's because a lot of the times when people are attracted to very big people, there's like a wounded bird type of vibe, or there's just like a I have all these problems and you're here to help me mindset. Whereas I think like when I was mid, it shifted and it was like I'm there to help them. And that was really weird for me. Um and I was like, "Whoa, what?" And it was a huge adjustment. And I think it's because I've said it before, like I really feel like when you're mid-size or even small fat, I think you're of a lesser social status than when you're really huge. I've said that before and I think it's true. I really do. I think mid-size especially is very challenging aesthetically. You're not like invisible. Like when you're mid fat, I think that's the worst, which mid fat, I think for most people would be like a 3X. I think that that's really hard, or maybe a 2X. I think a 2X actually. Sorry, I messed up. It's been a minute. Um, yeah, like a 2X, maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on the person, but there's a certain level of fatness where people cannot categorize you as like a super huge person or like kind of like I call it Tracy Turnblad Butterball style. It's like you're fat, but you're still kind of cutesy, or you can look really cute still being fat, or you're like really huge. So it's like I said, you bring in like a lot of different types of people, or maybe there's some stuff going on, or there's wounded bird, like rescuer dynamics being formed at super morbid. And then there's, like fun Tracy T butterball energy when you're small fat, you're more mainstream, it's easier. But when you're in between those two things, you're just like you're a lot less visible. It's really hard. If people can't categorize you in either one, then they just don't care, basically, or they don't think about you as much, or it's like harder. I think everybody's experience can be different. When I was in that in between, I basically got zero attention, and it was really scarring to me at the time. When I was small fat, I had a lot more eyes on me. Which that was probably like last November-ish. I had more eyes on me, but the quality of guys, they looked better, but they were not good quality. But I don't know if that's just a gay issue. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But it was still like a step in the right direction. But like I said, mid, it got weird. And then I just felt like there was all this. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's harder. I really do. Honestly, this is such weird advice, but if you are losing weight, I would try to lock it down with somebody in a small fat zone. I would just be like, try to do it before you're mid. I just think mid is weird. It's too ambiguous. It's weird. That's my opinion. I'm sure it works out fine for a lot of people. I'm sure it does, but that's just my advice. I think it's bizarre because what she's saying here, it's kind of giving. I feel like a lot of time, at least, I don't know. This is just my take. It's something I can kind of agree with her on. There's like when you're mid-sized, you're meant to cater to the guy, basically. So, and that was weird for me, which I'm looking for balance now. I want to be clear. I don't want like I want balance, essentially. I have a lot healthier of a mindset at this time and all that kind of stuff. But that's what I noticed. So I don't know. I don't know if there's stereotypes. I don't know what causes it, but that's interesting.
Whereas when I was heavier, I feel like that wasn't usually the problem. And I think sometimes people who've gone through this gloss it over as, oh, well, when you're heavier, people like you for you. And when you're smaller or like more conventionally attractive, men are more just interested in your body. But
I don't agree with that. I think that there is sometimes a level of intimidation too. And I think it could have to do with the ambiguity of midsize, where it's like, I don't know where you're going to go. I feel like a lot of guys see that and they're like, are you going to get bigger? Are you going to get smaller? Are you going to stay the same? Like, I think it's a question that at least comes into their mind. So it creates a bit of a mystery, which this might be part of it too. I think a lot of guys, they have a specific type or they like something specific. And so maybe they felt that you're more stably big, because that could be part of it too. I think there's a lot of stuff. There's like a lot of layers to this. I'd be so interested in your guys' opinions too, because I think this is a really interesting topic.
I don't think that's what it is. I think there's something else going on. So, and this is all about men, by the way. I date men and like mask of center people. My theory is the guys I was going out with when I was bigger were not as concerned with what their partner will bring them socially or in terms of status. That like that was lower on their list of concerns or priorities for who they were dating. That was not something they were necessarily thinking about, because dating a fat woman or like a woman who is not super conventionally attractive will not improve your status, will not like in your community make people be like, oh wow, he must be great or whatever. Now that I'm smaller, I'm not a trophy wife or like a status object or anything, but I do feel more on these dates sometimes like the guy is casting for the role of girlfriend or like casting for the role of partner, as opposed to being like, wow, she seems really interesting, I should take her out and get to know her. It's more like, do we make sense together? Do we like look like we could be a couple? I feel like that is like a higher on their list of priorities.
Yeah, well, I would go further and be like, how can you cater to me? That was my experience. It's partly why I just, like back in February, I was like, I'm just not even going to do this. Because I was like, what the fuck? And I just had a lot going on in my life. Like, I had a lot going on financially, activistically, work-wise. Like, I had a lot going on. I was flopping around like a Magikarp. I was also just very upset with where I was weight-wise. I was extremely upset about being mid-size. I keep talking about it because I feel like I just, it is just such a relief at this point to not be there. So I just am like, oh my gosh, like it was hard too, because then it's like, my fat identity is shattering, or my social identity of fatness is shattering. I don't know where I stand. It was just very hard. It was just very personally hard for me. I think it can be hard for a lot of people, but I was definitely a person where it was really, really difficult. So I also just felt really insecure. I didn't know how to project myself anymore. I was struggling with branding. I was struggling with my activistic message. There was just so much going on at the time, and people were acting like I didn't know anything anymore. Like on my YouTube, I lost all credibility becoming mid-size, and I didn't know what to do. It's like I wasn't fat anymore, and so all of a sudden, I lost all knowledge. Well, you don't know shit. So then it became that. And a lot of people were saying that at the time, and I was like, what the fuck? I don't know what to do. So that combined with the like, you need to cater to me thing within dating at the time. And it was like, no, I was just like, fuck this, basically. So that's kind of where I was at the time. Like, I think about it particularly in February. But I think it's just, I think there's a lot of layers to this. I do think that what she's saying is part of it, for sure. But I think it goes even further than how we look together. I think it's also what can you do for me? Rather than being super morbidly obese and having that what can I do for you mindset. But I don't, it can sound good, but I don't think it's good. I think regardless, it's imbalanced. And I don't, I just be like, I literally am like, try to lock it down when you're small fat. Otherwise, honestly, probably wait till you're thin. Wait till you're average, basically. Because it's really hard in midsize. I think it's just a very difficult phase to date in. Personally, that's my opinion.
And I don't say that in like necessarily even a bad way. I think everybody kind of thinks about that of like, does this person sort of on paper or like physically make sense for me to date? Would we look weird to people outside of this relationship? I don't think that's like a horrible thing to be thinking about. It certainly enters my mind. I don't think it's a good way to decide who you're in a relationship with, but I think on some level it is sort of natural. And I think I just run into that more now that I'm like closer to a conventional standard of attractiveness. Is people are like, oh yeah, I could see myself dating her. Like, we make sense. If we like walked into a restaurant together, no one would be like, what the hell's going on? Like, and unfortunately, I think that just leads to a little bit of a dehumanization or a depersonalization. And so I'm getting this vibe on dates that I used to not get because, I wasn't bringing people those rewards. Like, I did go out with people who maybe it would kind of turn heads if we showed up somewhere together because they were not someone who you would maybe expect to be dating someone like me. Yeah, so I don't know, it's interesting. It's almost like leagues mean more when you're sort of closer to the average. Whereas like if you're further outside the average, it's like, well, I'm like sort of a specialty, dish anyway. Like I'm not.
Well, there's definitely aspects of being more niche, for sure. But there's a lot of layers of that too. I would just say, I do think that she's right. I just think that there might be even more to it. But I definitely would put that in the pile. I definitely agree with her.
Not on the standard menu. I'm sort of, if you like this, you like this, it's a very interesting experience. I don't think losing weight has made my dating life better. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's, I'll see, I guess, in the future how things go. But I'm just, I'll put it to you this way. I'm not looking at the moment. I'll put it to you that way. I have somebody on my mind, period. So, but I would just say it's weird. That's what I would say. I think people, when they go into losing weight, they have this idea of what it will be versus what it actually is. And I think it's like you switch out one problem for another. That's the best way I could put it. I think that's how I would put it. So, because if I were to get like super snatched and let's say it doesn't work out with the person that I want and I get super snatched, then you're going to have a lot of projection onto you too. And there is a lot of dehumanization in that as well. So I think kind of probably the easier phases, it's probably average and small fat. It's probably easier. So if you're already there, you might as well use it. But that's my opinion. This is just my opinion. Take it for what it is. I'm just one person. Okay. But yeah, it's usually not what people expect. I'll put it to you that way. Because when you're big, a lot of times you think like it's just so easy for thin people, or it's just so easy. It's just so easy. It's just so easy. It's so much easier for everyone else. I don't think so.
I don't think it's made it worse. It's just made it different in a way that is like very
You switch out one problem for another, basically.
fascinating to me. And obviously, again, I'm speaking as someone who is still not like super, conventionally hot. But I check more boxes now, and I can tell that changes the way people approach me. And I find it very interesting. So I've been dating.
So that is interesting. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your takes on this. Yeah. I'd love to know your experiences. I love to read the comments. So please let me know. Even just for my own personal research. So please let me know. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.